Most people think their thoughts don't matter. But your brain is always listening. And more than that, it is adapting. Right now, your mind is quietly reshaping itself around what you feel most often and what you repeat to yourself every day. So if your life feels stuck, maybe it isn't random. Maybe it was trained. The human brain, often described as the most intricate structure known to man, is far more than a biological organ. It is a living system of change, a silent architecture that is constantly being rewritten, moment by moment, thought by thought, emotion by emotion. For many years, science believed the brain became fixed after childhood, rigid, stable, unchangeable. But that belief did not survive deeper observation, because the brain revealed something extraordinary. It was never truly static. It was always adapting, always reshaping itself in response to experience. This remarkable ability became known as neuroplasticity, the brain's power to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. And when you pause long enough to really consider what that means, it begins to feel almost surreal. Because a system designed to continually renew itself is not a system built for permanence. It is a system built for transformation, for recovery, for second chances. And for many who carefully observe both science and spirituality, this raises a quiet but deeply unsettling question. What if this adaptability is not accidental? What if the brain was designed to remain receptive? Throughout history, many traditions have viewed the mind as something far more significant than a simple thinking machine. They saw it as a bridge, a meeting point between the visible world and something far more subtle. Ancient writings across multiple cultures often speak about the renewal of the mind, not simply as metaphor, but as lived transformation. Because when the mind changes, perception changes. And when perception changes, the entire texture of reality begins to shift. From a neuroscientific perspective, this is not mystical language. It is observable biology. Every experience you live through leaves a physical trace in your neural pathways. Every repeated thought strengthens specific circuits. Every emotional pattern conditions the way your brain prepares for the future. You are, quite literally, being shaped from within. Every single day. Quietly, patiently, relentlessly. But here is where the deeper layer begins to emerge. If your brain is constantly being rewired by what you focus on, by what you repeatedly feel, by what you consistently expose yourself to, then your inner environment matters more than most people will ever realize. Because attention is not passive, emotion is not neutral, and repetition is never harmless. Over long enough periods of time, your inner climate becomes your outer experience. This is precisely why so many contemplative traditions place enormous emphasis on guarding the mind, on renewing the mind, on becoming aware of the silent internal dialogue that runs beneath the surface of daily life. Because the brain does not merely hear your thoughts, it encodes them, it adapts around them, it begins to predict the world through them. Words, whether spoken aloud or repeated silently within your own mind, carry measurable weight inside the nervous system. They influence emotional states. They shape expectation. They condition perception. And slowly, almost invisibly, they begin to form the lens through which you experience reality itself. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is neurological reality. When certain thoughts are paired repeatedly with strong emotional intensity, the brain strengthens those pathways. Positive emotional states tend to expand cognitive flexibility. They improve resilience under stress. They allow perception to remain open. Chronic negative emotional states, however, tend to narrow perception. They increase threat sensitivity. They reinforce defensive patterns deep within the nervous system. In other words, what you repeatedly feel teaches your brain what to expect from life. And what the brain expects, it begins to search for. This is one of the quiet mechanisms behind self-reinforcing emotional loops. Not because the world is always changing, but because perception becomes filtered through previously strengthened pathways. This is why emotional regulation has always been central to both psychological stability and spiritual clarity. A nervous system constantly flooded with agitation, resentment, or chronic fear struggles to perceive subtle signals, not because guidance is absent, but because internal noise becomes overwhelming. On the other hand, a mind that gradually learns stillness, a body that learns how to settle, a nervous system that becomes less reactive over time, begins to notice things that were always present, but previously drowned out. This is where ancient wisdom and modern neuroscience begin to quietly converge, because both point toward the same underlying truth. Your internal state determines your level of perception, and perception quietly shapes the direction of your life. But neuroplasticity reveals something profoundly hopeful. No neural pattern is completely permanent. No emotional conditioning is entirely fixed. No mental habit is beyond influence. With consistent input, with repeated focus, with intentional emotional regulation, the brain begins to reorganize itself. New pathways strengthen, old pathways weaken, and slowly, often so gradually, that you barely notice at first, your internal landscape begins to change. This process is rarely dramatic. It is rarely instant. And it almost never feels effortless. Real neural change requires repetition, consistency, and patience with the discomfort that often accompanies genuine growth. Because the brain prefers familiarity, even when familiarity is limiting, even when familiarity is uncomfortable, even when familiarity quietly holds you back. But the moment you begin consciously choosing what you repeatedly focus on, what emotional states you reinforce, and what internal narratives you allow to repeat unchecked, you begin participating in your own neurological transformation. Not forcefully, not aggressively, but gradually, deliberately, intelligently. Each time you interrupt an automatic negative spiral, each time you consciously soften an emotional overreaction, each time you choose awareness instead of pure impulse, something subtle begins to shift inside the nervous system. At first, the changes feel small, almost insignificant. Old reactions may still fire quickly. Old emotional habits may still feel familiar. This is completely normal, because the brain strengthens through repetition, not through isolated moments of insight. But over time, the new pathways begin to stabilize. Moments of pause become more accessible. Emotional recovery becomes faster, and the space between stimulus and reaction begins to widen. And in that space, clarity begins to live. Choice begins to reappear. And something that once felt automatic begins to feel optional. Many ancient contemplative traditions placed enormous value on stillness. For exactly this reason. Not because stillness is passive, but because stillness allows the nervous system to reset its baseline. When the body remains in constant stress activation, perception narrows, cognitive flexibility decreases, and subtle signals, both internal and external, become harder to detect. But when the nervous system learns how to downregulate, even briefly, something remarkable begins to happen. The brain becomes more receptive, more flexible, more capable of integrating new patterns. From a biological standpoint, this is measurable. From a human experiential standpoint, it often feels like clarity returning, intuition sharpening, internal noise softening. Whether one interprets this through the lens of neuroscience, psychology, or spirituality, the pattern remains strikingly consistent. Regulation precedes clarity, attention shapes structure, and repetition determines direction. This is why the environments you repeatedly place yourself in matter so profoundly, because the brain is always learning, always adapting, always optimizing for what it experiences most frequently. It learns not only from what you intentionally practice, but from what you repeatedly tolerate. Conversations, digital environments, emotional climates, social atmospheres. All of these leave subtle but cumulative imprints on neural processing over time. The brain adapts to the world it is most frequently exposed to, which means that over long enough timelines, your surroundings quietly participate in shaping your internal world. This is not a call for perfection, and it is certainly not a call for isolation. It is simply an invitation to awareness, to notice what you are repeatedly feeding your nervous system, to observe which emotional states are becoming familiar, to become curious about which reactions feel automatic and which ones still feel intentional, because awareness itself begins to loosen rigid patterns. And once awareness is present, intentional change becomes possible. Not overnight, not instantly, but steadily, patiently, reliably. And perhaps this is where the deeper hope resides. Because the human brain, despite its overwhelming complexity, remains remarkably responsive to gentle, consistent influence. You are not required to force transformation overnight. You are not required to become someone entirely different in a single moment. You are only required to begin participating in the direction your mind is already moving. Small shifts, repeated calmly, sustained over time. These are the forces that quietly reshape both brain and behavior, and over longer timelines than most people expect. They accumulate into something that feels almost like renewal, because in many ways, that is exactly what the brain was designed to do: to learn, to adapt, to reorganize in response to experience, and perhaps, in the quiet space between reaction and awareness, to become just still enough to perceive guidance that was never absent, only previously unheard.